Hello, welcome to today's astrology study group, and we are going to discuss vocational astrology. And, once you start looking at all the different slices of astrology, we're kind of, we're really doing the same thing, but we're looking at different areas, comparing different things, but we're doing the same thing. We're looking at, is the house or sign or aspect strong or weak? Is that planet or sign, outward or inward? Is it masculine and projecting, or is it seductive and calling in? Is it in conflict? Is it like where it likes to be? Does it have a free flow of its energy? So all of that adds to what we're looking at. So, how would I say it? It's just kind of like a logical unfolding of how we look at everything. So we look at two charts and we compare things and we say, oh, this one's stronger, this one's weaker, or these are blah, blah, blah. If we look at our own birth chart, we do that exact same thing. We look at a transiting planet, and we're doing the same thing. So, if you're approaching this, I think it's just exciting. It's just another way, another lens to look through. So today we'll look at the vocation. And, we've talked a little bit about house systems, and I'll talk some more about that soon. We'll do another little thing about it because it's kind of confusing, and I'm really I'm going through a lot of information and research so I can simplify it way down, and it'll be good. But anyway, we're going to use a different house system. And I think with the people, or at least one of them that I picked, I don't think it matters a whole lot. Sometimes it does. And then if we have time, I'll show you on my chart where it would matter. But I want to show you, we'll go through what we need to do, and then we'll look at a couple charts. So basically, we want to look at the 10th house, the 6th house, and the 2nd houses. So the 10th house is basically our house of career and aspirations. And it's like what we want. It's where we're going. And I'll just read through what I put together for you, but I'll add to it. But it gives you just a little synopsis to build on. We got to have some little mental hooks to build on. And then the 6th house is our house of work, our environment, employees. 2nd house is money and possessions. So let's just, before we dive into those themselves, let's just recap a little bit about those houses. The 10th house, we should know that it's at the top of the chart. It's kind of traditionally the Capricorn house, right? So we're going to kind of think about it with the Capricorn lens. That's our occupation, it's our career, it's our aspirations, what we want. I mean, whether it manifests as a career or a life purpose, that's just up to the individual. But it's that area where you're seen, people see you. That's out there in the world. That's on the top of the mountain. That's, in the upper quadrant, that's at the very top, and it's on the left side. So it's kind of like all about you. If it were on the Sagittarian side, it would be about others, which brings up the little controversy of house systems and why we use maybe a more equal house system when we do this, because when we use some of these house systems like Placidus and Campanus, how we say it, Coke, Regiomontanus, they're forcing the 10th house cusp to be the midheaven. And that's not necessarily the right thing to do. So we're going to use, instead of just a whole sign, you can use whole sign, which sets each house cusp at 0, or what I like to do is take where the rising sign is and then set each house to that degree. And this does a few things, because it really, it gives us the 10th sign from the ascendant, and that's the sign where, the career is. Now, if that's the case, what happens then in this is that now the midheaven doesn't have to be the cusp of the 10th house. It could fall in the 9th house or the 8th house or the 11th house. And that would give us more instruction on the vocation. So instead of trying to force it at the midheaven, and this is all about house systems and how they're computed, whether we're just using like quadrant based systems, where we have the ascendant, and then we make the midheaven a certain way, and then we fix those ones in the middle, as opposed to just not doing that. And I'll go over that again. And if you don't understand this, don't worry about that at the moment, because it's something that will clear up in time. But anyway, we know that is that highest, that's aspiration, that 10th house. And again, we have the actual midheaven point. And it could be in the 10th house, but it may not necessarily. And then that adds another aspect. And I don't want to take that away from somebody when you're, looking at career. Okay, so the 10th house is the highest part of the chart. It relates to your goals and aspirations. This is what you strive to be and to achieve. Use the sign of your 10th house and planets in the 10th house to get a basic feel for your career choices astrologically. This is really the place where you start. Your career or careers, are usually tied to your 10th house sign and or planets. There may not be planets in there. We'll cover that in a minute. So the 6th house is your house of work. Or the work environment you want to be in or have to be in, and the kind of general jobs you do, the jobs that are just jobs and not necessarily your career. It's flipping the burgers, it's throwing the papers. Well, we don't do that anymore. It's typing in things. It's those kind of job things. But then some people have careers as jobs, that they may do their job, they do their 9 to 5, but then there's something else. They are something else. So sometimes the 6th house really defines them a little more than a 10th house. All right. Once you've used your 10th house to get a baseline for your career or aspirations, life aspiration, your choices, you can then use the 6th house to kind of narrow down your choices or to get more specifics with the choices you have, or to tell you what kind of work environment you want to be in. So, if you want to be a doctor, you have your choice of being, an allopathic doctor or physician or a natural doctor physician. What kind of environment do you want, to be bowing? Do you want to be, subjected to rules and procedures and billing codes, or do you want to be a healer? Whatever. So these are these hairs that have to be split. All right. Now the 2nd house brings us up to our finances and our possessions, and shows you how you can make money, and also how you spend money. If you got Leo on the 2nd house, you're going to be more flamboyant with the money. You might have Cadillac tastes with a Volkswagen budget. So that's good to know. So you might need to understand how you think, feel, react to actual money, energy coupons to pay your way through life. Okay, so to satisfy, well, it also covers your finances, shows you how you can make or spend money. This is money you have to make rather than money you get from others, like an inheritance or you make with others. That involves like that more of the 8th house or the 7th and 8th house, other people's money. All right, so to satisfy the 2nd house, now you want your career choices to allow you to make money in ways through the 2nd house. So you can use your 2nd house to help drill down even more after you've assessed your 10th and 6th. And we'll look at that in some charts. You see how that works. All right, now we're going to assess, when we're looking at those houses, we're going to first of all look at the sign on each house, because everybody's got a sign on each house, but not everybody has a planet in those houses. So first thing, again, we're going to get the feel of the sign. And then it would be good if you looked like what rules that sign. Like, if something were in Libra, you would want to go see where Venus is. If something is in Virgo, you want to go see where Mercury is. If something's in Leo, you want to go see where the sun is. If something's in Cancer, you want to go see where the moon is. So basically you're looking where the ruler of that sign, where that is, and then we'll assess the shape of that planet. So if say Leo's on the cusp of if it's up there at the 10th house, and then we're going to go look where the sun is and see how well the sun is getting along with things. Is the sun stressed? Is Is there something blocking, your career? Is it not flowing the way it should be? Are they in good energies? Is it where it likes to be? So it's like if you have Leo on the 10th house, how well does Leo blend with kind of Capricorn energy? So those are the things that you'll look at with yourself in your quiet moments. Okay. Are the planets there, are they active or passive, right? Are they masculine or feminine? Are they positive signs, which are the outward go-getter, or are they the feminine signs where you're calling in? It's more seductive, you're more manipulative type of skill. What element is it in? Is it a water energy you're dealing with? Is it fire energy? What type is that? And then we'll go look at planets in there. Is that planet by themselves? Is it alone, or is there a group, a cluster, or is it? And then are they making? Is it making aspects and to other planets? So not everything is going to, of course, be in some area. So there's going to be empty houses there, and empty houses in astrology, it views that as an area you don't really need to give as much attention to because you've maybe already learned it. Maybe it's like innately or in your early life or your past lives. Houses with planets in them are areas we need to give more attention because we still have more to learn. So the more planets, the louder that house gets, the more is going on in there. All right, so that is that. Let's stop sharing. Let me get a new share for you. Okay, so let's go look at some charts. Let's look at this one first. Let's go look at Bette Midler. And I think you can see this here. We have her born on December 1st, 1945. We did get a good birth time. We got a AA Radom rating at 219 in Honolulu. So we have her as an Aries rising, first thing. And then we do have her midheaven. Let's see, I ran her at Placidus, so I'm going to show you just a couple things. But at this is how we have her. And then we'll see how much it changes when we change house systems. Because what I don't want is an intercepted house. I kind of like it, it's just better that way. We'll talk about that deeper another time. But at her 10th house cusp, which would be here, we see Capricorn there. And in her 6th house, we've got Virgo. And then her 2nd house, we have Taurus. Now, you should probably be saying, well, this is like the natural overlay, right? When we set things up just to study it, we set Aries at like the 1st house and Taurus at the 2nd. So this is the natural overlay of energy, and life is easier for these people. I mean, for the rest of us, we have, different things in those houses. So it does like, if you have Tauruses ruling your 1st house, that's, it really doesn't get along with the Aries energy there. Right? If you have a fire planet there, or if you have a Gemini there, it gets along more with that house. So we still have that stuff to be concerned with. So let's just look at, let me see, let's just view or edit. Let's change the house system on her. Let's put her at equal house. Look at all these house systems. Okay, so this should give us the same degree as her ascendant, her 19 Aries, but just put 19 all the way around. See, now for her, look, the actual midheaven point is at 13 degrees Capricorn, where the actual house cusp of the 10th house is 19 Capricorn. And I just wanted you to see that. So again, we'll go into this a little bit more. If you're confused, just hang it in part of your brain, but just know that this is telling us things, okay? So it makes a difference. If this were in the 10th house, I think it personally would be stronger. But maybe it being in the 9th house, it made her a little bit more broad-minded. It just was the type of person. Her career, I think, was kind of rocky. I haven't studied her life, but if it were in the 10th house, it might have been more of a smooth ride in the business world. But anyway, that's what we see. Okay, so we're looking at that, and we see Aries rising. It's just because that's just a important thing to note, that this is like the natural flow of the chart. So let's just go kind of follow our little plan. Let's go look at the 10th house cusp, and we still see that it's Capricorn, and we know we set it to 19. So we know that. So we know that she's going to be ambitious, right? I mean, it's the ruler of that house. A Capricorn is the Saturn is the ruler of of this house. So this is same. So what we know here is that that's ambitious. It's climbing up the mountain. It's all about being stoic, being doing what it takes. Having that calm reserve to just keep moving forward in things. Not it's like you're in it more for the long haul. You have a way better business sense. So she used her skills, her personal skills as business. Her body, her singing ability, her acting ability, to propel herself forward. Now let's look at any planets. I don't see any planets in the 10th house, but what we do know is that Capricorn rules that, and Saturn rules Capricorn. So we're going to go look where Saturn is. That would be the first thing I would think of, because there's no planets there. So let's go look where Saturn is. And in her chart, it's like right in the opposite sign. It's down in the bottom of the chart in the 4th house in Cancer. Now you think, wow, that's, first of all, that's not a good place for Saturn. Saturn is kind of weakened, in its opposite sign there, one of its opposite signs. So it's, in its detriment. So you think, wow, so how she was successful, and she had, the ruler of that house in its detriment. So she probably had a little tough time, or it wasn't probably handed to her, I would say. I think she had to work for it. But see, it's not actually opposing any planet or anything like that. So that's interesting. It's in its sign of detriment, but it's not making a bad aspect to anything in the house, because it's not there, or the cusp of the house. It's still too far away. So it kind of has a weakening influence like that. So it's like, yeah, I guess I gotta try real hard, or I gotta, again, I think she kind of did have a hard life, but this is the fun stuff to do, but we're just looking at it without knowing anything. So this kind of I like to do that at first, because it kind of leaves me more unbiased. All right, so the ruler of that is now in the 4th house with Mars and Pluto, both in Leo. I think that's kind of interesting. So they're not conjunct, they're far away. They're all in there, but still, the ruler of her 10th house is in a house with Mars in Leo. So this is definitely high energy. This is maybe kind of setting the stage to be able to shine that Leo self. It's like that Leo energy. It's like, look at me. There'd have to be some kind of emphasis in Leo, I would think, just because, being on stage, look at me, listen to me. It's all about me, my voice, my singing, my this, my me. It's got to have some kind of I think, a Leo emphasis. So anyway, we have Mars and Leo right there. And, we have Mars is the ruler of the 5th house, its natural house, right? So then you'd go, maybe, let's go look at the sun, because that's, her creativity, her passions. And it's over there in Sagittarius, a fire sign. Then that would be trining her Mars. The sun, we have we give like 8 degrees either way. So it's definitely, in a nice trine to Mars. So we may not see something like this right away. It's like you might have to go look for the ruler. Then you go, oh, look, it's like over here by her sun. And, you go down little rabbit holes this way. Now, interesting now that the sun, while we're here, it's in other people's money. So I think she had some help from, God, what's that guy's name? Russo. I can't remember his first name. He spilled out a lot of information. God, I don't remember his first name. He's departed right now, but I think they were partners on some level. But anyway, there's maybe some other people's money connection. Yeah. Okay, so you see how we can see now we're building this personality. We're seeing this heating up, and it's again not always as cut and dry. But we're going to now go over to our nice little sixth house, and we see Virgo on the ascendant of our first house, our sixth house. So that's where Virgo wants to be, So she was like okay with the maybe more harmonious with doing things as job before it became career. So maybe she was able to, it's like, all right, I got to do this to make money, or I got to do this to propel myself forward, or I got to do this to meet this person or to get this because I want that. The ambition and the Aries rising drove her probably to do those things. Interesting to look at her life. All right, then we see that there's a planet in here. And I really, for birth charts, I really like to look at the inner planets. So I'm kind of not going to say a whole lot about the outer ones because it's more generational and we're kind of limited on time. But this Neptune here does add a little, in Libra, what would you say? Mystical niceness, broad-minded, humanitarian, looking, maybe seeing people for who they are, seeing the person inside the shell, inside the body, not being so biased. So maybe that gave her that nice appeal. So people liked her. Okay, over to the second house. Well, we know we have Taurus as the ruler of that, which it likes to be there too. So somehow it works. And then, in this house, and again, I don't want to do a whole lot about the outer stuff, but just sometimes you can't ignore it. She'd be born in that 7 years of Uranus in Gemini. So, Uranus, sudden, different things, lots of stuff. She probably had lots of different skills within that and lots of things. So that created lots of useful ways of making money or something here. But anyway, that's just there. But we're going to go look at Venus, because that's the ruler of this house. Oh, I forgot to look at Mercury, but we'll look at them both. So let's go up here. Let's go back to Mercury, because that was in the ruler of the sixth house, the ruler of Virgo. So we have Mercury here in Sag, in the ninth house. So the Sag part is happy, and then Mercury, Sag is really not real good with it. It's opposite. It's in a detriment too. So she's got a couple planets here in detriment. And so they're not totally expressing that energy. And this is funny because of the singing, right? She's a singer. So, the voice, but then we have Venus, which will go all over also, which could override that. We got to look at a few things, but just the fact that Mercury in Sag is in its detriment, but it's in the Sag house, so it kind of offsets it a little bit, I would say. It's kind of interesting. All right, and let's look at Venus. And so Venus is in its detriment too, right? It's opposite of where it wants to be. It's in Scorpio. So wow, a bunch of planets in areas that they don't really find. It's not really the best places for them. Did I think that's right? Yeah. So this, it's like she's in the microscope, but this is interesting too, because this is the house where Scorpio is. This is a Scorpio house, and we have Scorpio in its favorite house. So that kind of offsets that a little bit, she used maybe that sexuality to her advantage. The sultriness that she had, to her voice, to her demeanor, she used that in a good way. So we can kind of see how that mix is and how it's interesting that she made that planet work because of the sign. It's like, well, you're dressed up and ready to go, might as well do it. So I think those are kind of interesting things to point out. Now we can go a lot deeper, but let's just kind of just sum it up with that, because there's so much more. But just I wanted to mention one more thing, just that the Midheaven is in the ninth house. So it was like a little bit more of a spiritual aspirations than just cold making money. If that were in that house, it would be just a little bit more just business. But being in that ninth house, Sagittarius, it kind of takes on that little bit more of a spiritual or broader or others outlook, and not just totally herself. All right, now let's see, where do I have this one? Let's go to, all right, let me new share. Let's look at this one. Okay, the other one I got to look at is Barbra Streisand. And I did not know that these both people, when I picked it, had the same chart delineation. So look at Barbra Streisand here. She's got Aries rising as well. And I wish that would get out of my way. Here we go. No, that just knocked it out for me. Bear with me. There we go. I hope you can see. No, I think it's just me that's messed up here. Let me get my chart back up. Trying to get that out of the way. Okay, I hope you can still see Barbra Streisand. Get this little bar that is over my screen.
It's gone on ours.
Is it gone? All right, let me do new share. That's what I was wondering. Let me try this one. Is this her? Bear with me. There we go. Okay, should be Barbra Streisand.
It is.
Okay, and I don't know why this is in my way of that. Anyway, okay. So she's got an 8-degree Aries. Now and we noticed she doesn't have any planets in the 10th house either. But let's go. I don't know why Zoom does this sometimes. I have the little bar over where I need to change things. It's all right. I want to change her chart. I want to put her on the whole sign. Bear with me. Let's just do that real quick. Put her on equal sign. Okay. And I'll new share for you. Okay, now we have her, and it really didn't, I don't think it changed too much. I'd have to compare them side by side, but it didn't, I don't think it moved things too much. It might have moved the moon, but let's get started. We see that, no, this is not giving me what I want. Oh well. Okay, so this program here is not showing where the midheaven line is there, but anyway, we'll just go through this. So much software, right? It's always something. So if we got another ambitious woman, and then we got another, Aries rising. So we know Barbra Streisand, was songbird, and she, had a kind of, I think, a rough getting started, but then kind of got right away. She hooked in, got to singing, got to doing acting, and there was a lot in her career for a long time. So let's go look at Saturn. We see that would be the ruler of that house, and we go look down and we see Saturn in Taurus in the second house, and it's conjunct Uranus. So I mean, that's just interesting, so lucky break, right? Maybe. And then it being in Taurus, Taurus rules the throat, and here she's made, with Saturn there, her singing is, how she's making money. So that you can see how that definitely tied in right away. Bing, bing, bam. She probably was singing at a young age. She probably always sang. Maybe she wanted to be an actress, but that's, you can definitely see that right there. And then look, we also have the Sun and Mercury in Taurus as well. So in the sign of the throat, in the sign of the voice, right? And, Sun in the first house. She's going to do that. Mercury right there, conjunct the Sun. She is that voice. They're conjunct, they're fused. You think of Barbra Streisand, and you think of a songbird. You think of her singing. I think of her singing more than acting. But nonetheless, you can see how strong that is in her chart. Look at that, 4 planets in Taurus, if we count the outer planets. But otherwise, three of the planets in Taurus. So in Earth, Midheaven, Earth, Earth, going to do this and make money. and she's, very, very well off. Okay, so that's that one. Let's go over to the 6th house, and there again, Virgo. So we're going to go look at Mercury, and it's boom, back into Taurus. Boop, next to the sun. Boop, the voice. It just goes right back there. What kind of environment does she want? I want it organized. I want it linear. I want it my way. I want it like this. Yep. And then we kind of already defined the 2nd house because of the, the Taurus on that cusp of that. It's just going to tell us, that you can make money with something with the Taurian. And with her, we see that right away it was the voice. So where's the acting part come in from? Let's look and see where Venus is at. So we got Venus. Look at this. Venus in the 12th house in Pisces. Wow. Maybe there, we've got that Piscean idealism. I want to be an actress, and you can, because that Pisces gets along with all of that Taurus, right? They're friends. They're sextile. But let's see what we got. Where's her Mars? Okay, so down in the bottom in the 3rd house of communications, we have Mars and Jupiter. So Jupiter makes things bigger, right? Wherever it touches, it's already in a Gemini house. It's going to make that bigger. She's going to have 2 careers, 2 things. Mars, the drive and energy to do it, to have that double life. I can do both. I can do them both equally well. And there you have it. And look at the Leo moon. She's born around, the same, she's 3 years older than Bet. So they were born in that generation of Pluto and Leo. That generation, of Pluto and Leo were a lot of look at me people. There was look at me on the stage, look at me here. Now, we don't have that. Pluto is going into Aquarius and everybody's a star. Everybody has a YouTube channel. Everybody can do all that. The masses can. Totally opposite of the Pluto, in Leo, where we would look at the people on the silver screen and all that, right? But look at the moon in Leo. I mean, that is just a total look at me, dance and sing around me, Leo energy. Leos have to be validated and people need to rally around them. Remember, they're the campfire that everybody's dancing and singing around. And if you don't validate them, they get just really pissy. It's just true. And especially with the moon. I mean, when you get a wounded moon in Leo, it's terrible. It's pathetic. It's like it's worse than the got a thorn in my paw. Be really, really maudlin. And she did that role a lot. She was that poor thing, the secondhand rose and rise to the top. And with the movie The Way We Were with Robert Redford and Tear My Heart Out, We Can Never Be Together. Oh, it's like all that Leo drama kind of stuff. That was her thing, that dramatic stuff, which was her work environment. She wanted it real meticulous and like that. So very interesting. Yeah. All right. What are we doing on time? Let me just show you. Let me do another one. Let me get out of here. If I can, I can't. This thing is in my way. Let me see if I can add one more. Add new natal. I'll show you something. Here we go. All right, let me show you mine. Let me give you a new share. Just because, let's see, I think I want to use this one. Let's see if this gets out of the way. Hopefully you can see my chart. Yeah. This is Carrie Astrobreeze.
That's good.
Okay. This one you see, let's see what, okay, my midheaven is on Placidius. This is interesting. It's at 18 Aries, right? So I got an Aries midheaven here, right there. Now, this makes a big difference. And I have these intercepted houses and stuff, but now when we set this to a different house system, this one makes a lot of difference. And I can attest to this. I give you a testimonial, equal house. There we go. Okay, hopefully you can still see this, and all the houses should be set to 3 degrees. All right, because I had 3 degrees Leo. Now, you probably didn't remember, but it's okay. But I had to see, this is telling me now I have the midheaven is now falling in the ninth house, where it was at the 10th house cusp. So for me, it's the same kind of like Bette Midler, it's in the ninth house. And then my Jupiter is now in the ninth house where it was in the 10th house before. So this makes this makes a difference. And then also Venus changed for me. If Venus was in my 11th house, now it is in my 10th house. Okay, so unpack this a little bit. So here we have Taurus on the midheaven. So Taurus on the midheaven, I'm thinking of, okay, that's Taurian things, that's earthy, that's practical, that's nutrition. That also falls with Virgo, but it's food. Food is nutrition. We'll see where that ties in. Okay, so that's some of that area. So let's go look at Venus. Which is the ruler of the 10th house, Taurus, and Venus is in the 10th house. So we say, okay, that's interesting. So, and then Venus is in busy Gemini. So I think, all right, so there's probably going to be a lot of food or Taurian related careers. Venus, because there's two, there's many interests, and it's in the 10th house. So I have had several restaurants. I have created menus. It's all to do with health and good food. I've had dinner clubs, really big on food and good food, clean food, and then doing it my way, kind of speak. So that definitely comes in with that. And that's also, let me just jump over real quick here with the Mars, which earlier we had the Aries on the midheaven, right? When we did it with Placidius, and Mars rules Aries. And then Mars also rules knives and sharp things. So that would kind of tie into the cooking, because I've used knives for cooking and sharp tools and that for a long time. I also have got into a old practice of something called hijama, which is using the cupping methods, where you draw out toxins and stimulate the body. But the method that I like to use is the wet cupping, where it's a little glass cup, so to speak, like a shot glass. And then traditionally you would heat them up and they would get a little warm. You wouldn't let them get real hot, but then when you put them on the back, or whatever part of the body you're trying to get circulation to, it would have a suction, and it would lift the skin, which clears the lymph and does a lot of things. But anyway, it brings in a lot of circulation. And then if you take that off and you make light little scores in that, and you put the cup back on, it can draw out a lot of toxins, liquid toxins out of the body. It's really fascinating. You can look up hijama or wet cupping. Nowadays, we don't have to do it quite so hard. There's plastic cups with a little suction thing that draws the skin up by pumping the little thing, the device that fits over it. So it's very fascinating, but it's another way of knives, of using of that for like a healing purpose. And it's in that ninth house of other higher education, other ideas. All right, but back to this. I mean, I just had to tie it in, because I'm going to tell you, when you see a lot of planets up here, you think, oh, wow, there's a lot of careers. And I do a lot of things. And, this is very busy. It's not as focused and narrow and poignant as the last two that we see, that they had no planets there, but they had planets in other things that we could see, which drove their careers. So the other side, you probably wonder, is the astrology side. And there's, all of this here in the ninth house, the Sun, Mars, the midheaven itself here for me falls in the ninth house, and Jupiter. So Jupiter's kind of both ways. It's right here at the center. So it's making all of this big, but it's putting, it's like I love it all, but I've been a long time astrologer, and I just love astrology. I think it makes so much sense on so many levels for so many people, for so many different things. And it's just been a fascinating kind of study. But see, it's not in my 10th house, so to speak. So I really don't do it so much as a career. I don't do this my 9 to 5. So you can see that that's not, it's not a 10th house thing. So if you're looking at, astrologer looking at baby Carrie, you're going to advise the parents like, well, okay, this one's going to be busy, a lot of stuff, and let's make sure she's got, things, books, learning, blah blah blah, to enhance that soul. So this is one thing when you look at like young people's charts, you definitely want to see where their collection of planets and things are. So just to kind of end this up, I don't want to do a whole lot on this, but I could then go see what's, before I even move on, you got so much up here. We're going to I would go see what's, making things stronger or weaker, to see which career would be the most important one or ones. Okay. And then you would again go look over to the ruler of the sixth house. And for me, it's Capricorn. So that gets along nicely with what's at the cusp of the 10th house, up here at Taurus. So that gets along because it's earth and earth, right? And then the cusp of the second house is Virgo, which is another earth. So that gets along. So they're all at least in rhythm together. So there's another way you can look at that. Are those houses fighting one another, Okay, so I hope this gave you a little idea on looking at houses, looking at signs, trying to assess the career a little bit, see some interweavings of it, how many different things, you can bring in. And then you're probably looking here, and I didn't mention it too, like Mercury up here is just all about communicating those things in a practical way. Mercury and Taurus, thank God I have that, because it slows down all this Aries stuff. Is total impetuousness. It's like, the brain is going, now wait a minute. Did you do this first, second, third? But that's where the communication is in a practical way. It's not just airy fairy. It's like, no, let's bring this down to earth. Let's make this make sense. So you can look at all that. You can see that there's certainly busy areas of people's lives, where they're at, how to assess them, and it's just fascinating. So I hope you enjoyed this, and look at your chart, look at people maybe just go, type in people's birthdays and, famous people, and just go try to do a little practice, go look at their 10th house, go, we don't know what system Astro didn't, I think, maybe Astro theme. A lot of them used a Placidius, but you can still look at that in practice. And then a lot of them, I think it's Astro theme, or maybe astrology.com. I forget. There's a couple of them that you can run the charts and change the houses and do that too. There's some, easy free software out there. Not software, companies, online. You can just do that. So it's neat. It's a good thing to use. All right. Hope you enjoyed that, and we will see you next time. Thanks for listening. Hello, welcome to our weekly transits for the week of November 7th, 2023. And wow, it's just a crazy kind of the last couple months with some of these aspects and some of these things. And I hope I can remember to get through. I did a lot of research on this because there's a lot coming in, but we'll see how much we get through. So, God, where do we even start? So today, let's just look at this little trio in Scorpio, because we're into Scorpio season, and we got, the sun at the halfway point. And that was, a traditional holiday, where people would get together, because we're right in the middle of we're in the middle of the fixed sign. So this is an interesting day. Now we're pretty soon going to have, look how close Mars is. So we're going to have the Mars Cazimi. It will be, when is it? I think it's like 18th. It'll be next week. We'll talk about it more. But Mars will be in the heat of Sun. It's already kind of fused. The Sun and Mars, we got a lot of intense fire energy, and Mars being in its own sign. Now, I got to say this about that. This is where I want to begin, because this is interesting. Mars is here in Scorpio, right? And that's the feminine. Scorpio is a feminine sign. And its other ruler is Aries. So we know that in traditional astrology, other than the sun and the moon, all the other planets have they rule two signs. So we know that Aries, Mars and Aries, Mars rules Aries and Scorpio. And Aries is our masculine sign and Scorpio is our feminine sign, right? They each have one. So Mars is in the feminine sign. And then when I go to tomorrow, Wednesday, Venus goes into her sign. She goes into Libra. It's her other sign. Venus rules Taurus and Libra. And this is the masculine version for Venus. So Mars, the masculine planet, is in its feminine alter ego. And Venus, a feminine planet, is in Libra, its masculine alter ego. So that is very interesting. And then they're right next to each other, the signs. So they're a semi-sextile. They don't see eye to eye. So they'd have nothing in common other than that. So that's a very interesting thing. So what does that really mean? I think that's really important because it's like you have your creative side is strong, with the Venus. It's the beauty, the balance, it's engaging yourself in what you want, your pleasure. But at the same time, you've still got to be, your Mars side is, in Scorpio, you got to be strategic and smart and effective. And it's like action, it's action to get what you want. It's power. So this is kind of a little play or balance between power and pleasure, and enjoy it because it's kind of an imbalanced balance or a balanced imbalanced. It's just, it kind of works. And then they're not in each other's face. It's like if you got to be in a room with somebody you don't know or you don't like, at least you can be on your cell phones together. Yes.
I'm sorry, but the wheel is not up. I was off feeding the cat and did.
All right, let me get it for you here. I don't know why it's not there. You try this one. How about now? Can we see it?
Now I can see it.
Huh. I don't know why. Okay. So here's the picture. Basically, you didn't really need to see it, but here it is. We've got tomorrow, we got the sun moving ever closer. And then we can see also tomorrow. Today wasn't too much going on today, but tomorrow kind of kicks it off more because we have Venus moving into her own sign. So we're kind of at the dawn of that. And we get into that little back and forthness with the Venus Mars. It's coming in today. Things start to get a little edgy, but there it is. So that's one big thing we've got starting the week. Ring, ding, ding, ding. So the Venus is in dignity now, right? She's in her own rulership of this own area. So this is good. When a planet's in dignity, it can express itself more naturally. So this is good because we've got a lot of tension going on in the world right now. I don't have to remind anybody. So this can add a little bit of, oh God, hopefully some niceties, some Venusian calming things down. People standing up, being in Libra, people standing up nicely, being an advocate for justice. We got to extend that beauty and power. Boundaries need to be drawn nicely in not only in the world, but in all of our relationships. This way we can maybe mitigate difficulties. And it's really an act to kind of unify or bring unity with beauty and value. Venus is also value. It's like, look, if you do this, then this is the outcome. Is that what you want? Kind of a thing. Like, oh, well, I guess since you put it that way. So that's an interesting little thing that we've got going on. All right. Anything else I want to tell you about here? So Venus also this day, is making an inconjunct, or I should say, I should quit calling that, a quincunx, 150 degree over to Saturn. It's at 0 degrees. So, this is kind of like, again, there's nothing in common here. So Venus is, it gets to be in its home sign, but it's got like frickin' Saturn. It's got in a funky aspect. It's got to deal with right when it moves in. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot to clean the cat box. Okay, I guess I'll do that first. Then I'll settle into my sign. Or all right, yeah, I forgot to. I promised to, do whatever I said. Got to make amends with Saturn. So that kind of happens right away. Is Venus ingresses into its sign. So it's sort of taking care of. So with all of us, it's like taking care of those things that you promised that you don't really want to do. Yeah, enough said. All right. And then also Mercury is, where we got right there. It's starting to come into aspect a sextile with Pluto, right? So we got Scorpio and Capricorn. We got a feminine planet and a feminine planet. So that's good. So this is interesting. So Mercury at the tail end of Scorpio, investigating, looking at it, meeting up with Pluto. But it's a good aspect. It's like, all right, we're going to look and report on the depths. We're going to get to the bottom of this. That's what I like to say. We're going to figure this out, and you're going to come clean. Basically, that's how I'm reading that one. Okay, so that's happening tomorrow. Woo! All right. Now, Thursday, Moon now is, ingresses into, it's nice. It's kind of ushers in Venus, right? So they're nice benefic energies. You can see the moon tomorrow as it moves into Libra. It just, conjoins with Venus, and then it moves on in that sign. So that kind of is a nicety. So it helping Venus out. Like we talked about, it's like, I think it brings an advocate of justice, which is interesting here because then Mercury is at that anorectic degree. It's that 29 degrees, right, where it's changing into its next sign. It's moving into detriment, but it's going to maybe bring a lot, not quite so intense communications. So maybe the intensity of communications that we've all been in a little bit will lighten up. I really like the time of year when we go through Sag. It's one of my favorite times. It's just lighter, jovial. But although right now, with all kinds of stuff in the world, I can't say that this is a jovial time, but we're still in Scorpio. Hopefully things will lighten up, but we've got some rough aspects to get through. I wanted to get to those today. Let's see. All right, so anything else I got for you on this day? Let's see. Thursday. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, was it? Yeah, here we go. We got Mars also. We got Mars forming an opposition to Uranus here. It's coming in. You can see it's ingressing. It's not exact yet. It will be, but you can see as the day or two comes in, we have that to worry about. So let's just think about that. Mars, Uranus, it's volatile, right? It can make it all the more incendiary, I'd say. It is by the recent eclipse that we had. What was the degree? I wrote it down. We had 21 degrees. Yeah, it was 21 Libra. Okay. So we'll still be ringing a little bit on 21. Let's see, I'll get there in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so let's move to anything else I have on Thursday. Let's see. Yeah, Mars forms the opposition on the 11th. Okay, that's coming in. The ping pong effect of every action eliciting an opposite and equal reaction will continue to escalate. So this is clearly not a time to try to bridge the gap. So we see this intense energy of the Sun and Mars lining up to oppose Uranus. Look at that. I mean, it's coming in now. So be careful with eliciting things because it just definitely will be that ping pong. You're going to get ponged if you ping. For some people, this can bring about like a split and that can't be reconciled. This is sudden. This could be sudden split of something, especially if you have things at those degrees. That's where I would look. If you have stuff in Scorpio or Taurus or, anything making a hard angle to that. All right, if you fall into this camp, then you will need to accept that the other party will never see things from your perspective and that you need to go your own way in some way. You might have to agree to disagree. You might have to end certain things, but this is definitely could be volatile because of the nature of this. All of that, even with Mercury there, that communications could be deep, sharp, poignant, focused, type of energy, fixed, not wanting to change, that scorpionic energy. Things can change as soon as Mercury starts to move on, but yet this will happen regardless. All right, what else here? For others, the Mars-Uranus opposition can bring a release from an overbearing obligation or maybe a rut that you've been stuck in. It could be very liberating. It'll take a little time to figure it out. Again, it depends on the aspects that it's making to you. What else is there? Yeah, we already talked about the moon meeting up with Venus. That's good. It's meeting up in the balsamic phase, which is the balsamic moon phase. The cosmic invites you to turn inward. This phase is akin to the fertile darkness where seeds need to germinate, because we're coming into the new moon. We're getting lower and lower, lesser and lesser moon. So potent with potential, yet requiring patience before the burst of new life. Right at that new moon. But it's gonna be a new moon, Scorpio. So it's a time to rest a little bit, maybe to dream, to set intentions for what you want to manifest in the coming cycle, for anything that you want to hold on to, that you want to be fixed, tenacious, something that's deep, watery, that type of energy. All right, it's gonna be a busy day. Thursday is kind of quite the day there. Friday, we got the Mercury now. When it goes into 0 degrees, we got stuff squaring and making aspects to. I should just say making aspects to Saturn, but it being an immutable sign is going to square that. So, again, it's kind of like Venus. When it went into its sign, it had to deal with Saturn kind of in a funky way, but now Mercury's there, so it could be nicer. It could, how do I say it? Unabridged communications. It could be, it could be, how Mercury in Sag can just say things. It could just say things honestly, frankly, blurting stuff out. So be careful about that, or if somebody pointing the finger at you, and try not to be too sensitive, because these are mutable signs. Pisces, and Saturn and Pisces, a little sensitive, so just kind of watch that. And then what else we got? Yeah, we had Mercury change signs, and then it immediately squares Saturn. And then here we have, oh yeah, I know what I was going to tell you. While we're talking about Uranus over here, and this is lining up, look at Mars is getting ever closer here. The last time that Uranus was 21 degrees Taurus, not just recently, but I don't know if it went that far. I'll have to look again. But anyway, it was the last time that it was in Taurus and at this degree was in July and October 1939. Think about that. That was, before World War II started. So this new moon could be kind of a trigger of the same kind of energy or world events. This is what I'm afraid of. Or I don't want to say afraid of, but I'm like kind of waiting for the shoe to drop, holding my breath. It's like understanding that these, we talked about this before, these astrological cycles, and that, what we say, millionaires don't believe in astrology, but billionaires do. Billionaires, trillionaires, whatever, rule the world. So when, this has gone on forever. There have been astrologers to the kings and queens forever, giving them advice about things, and they tend to act on some of these things. So when something volatile like, the sun, we're going to have a new moon. So we have the sun, moon, and Mars will be all conjunct and all opposing Uranus. Now, that is not like a good thing. And any opportunistic anybody that's very opportunistic would use this for harm. Let me just say that. I mean, how could they not? But I believe in the forces of good and the forces that people on a large level are understanding astrology on a huge level. And I think it can help quell some of that just because we're watching. You know, we're all learning, we're all watching this. And these events are not just happening. These are planned. You know, if you're the evil genius, you're going to look at this stuff and plan your evil events. It's just not just doesn't happen, you know. All right. So watch this. This is going to be funky. So watch it in your life and watch it on world events and do a lot of praying between now and then. Send beautiful thoughts to the earth, to the people, to get along, to not buy into this stuff that's being forced down our throats. You know, to not keep being, you know, buying into this corporate stuff, this wars, this pitting of people against each other. Who's it benefiting, right? The people at the top, the people are making money, not everyone else. So, all right, I'll get off my soapbox. But you can see this lining up. It just, okay. Friday. What else I got for you? So we got the Mercury square Saturn. It represents challenges in communication and thought processes. You might be a little like, duh, that day. This aspect is like a mental workout, urging you to strengthen your intellectual muscles. Yeah, let's be positive about it. Sagittarius's desire for freedom and exploration may feel restricted by Saturn's demand for structure and responsibility. That's what I was saying, kind of like, it moves in there and then like, crap, I got to deal with this stuff first. So deal with it first. You know, that old expression, I don't know, I think it was an English thing. It was like, eat that frog. It was terrible. There's a book called Eat That Frog. It's like, get rid of all that stuff. But anyway, it was fun. It was a good book. All right, so it's time to also be patient with yourself and others as everything is working through their own issues. Everyone is working through their own issues. Yeah. Aren't we all? Okay, moving on. Did I get them all there? A Saturday. Now, here we go. It's Mars exactly opposes on Saturday. So again, this is really highly volatile. We also have a fairly long void, of course, moon. It starts at 10 in the morning, East Coast, and then it won't move, and then it moves into Scorpio at 1:39. So, but 3.5 hours. So don't sign contracts at that time. What else we got here? Okay, we have that. This Mars opposing Uranus is also hitting in the charts. Like if you do birth charts, it's also hitting in the charts of Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Iran, Lebanon, Syria, China, Taiwan, and the UK. Great, right? So this is like, to me, triggering aggression, spontaneous or something like that. So again, calming down energies. We have to really put that out there. And this happened again, you know, it's part of that old stuff. This was like, it's kind of bringing up that nuclear theme, whether it's just posturing, Lord forbid, let's hope it's just all posturing and nothing real, but we can see this stuff heating up like that. All right, anything else on Saturday I have for you? Moon meets the North Node. It opposes that. Squares Pluto, trines Saturn. Mars opposes Uranus. We got that one. Let's see, this day, what do I got here? This day starts with a pull toward the future as the moon aligns with the North Node, prompting thoughts. It's, you know, opposing. Prompting thoughts. Where am I at? Oh. I lost my spot here. There it is. Okay, prompting thoughts about the future aspirations and emotional states you wish to achieve. However, with the square to Pluto, it may be more. There may be more intense undercurrents to the surface, challenging you to confront deeper issues before the moon goes void. So the moon's entry into Scorpio and its trine to Saturn suggests the need to stabilize emotions and harness depth for constructive change. The significant Mars-Uranus opposition could bring sudden shifts or revelations, urging you to break free from old patterns and embrace transformation. This aspect may also correlate with global events that shake the status quo, reminding of us of impermanence of material pursuits and the importance of genuine connections and values. Oh boy. Yeah. All right. So here, let's see. Let's get this lined up. I want to, let's go hours. And it should be, oh, I might pass it. Sorry. Do, do, do. Well, I was just flipping right by it. Moon. What am I doing? There we go. Sorry. Oh. Oh, I don't want to do it that way. Sorry. It's, I thought I was on my next one. Sorry. It's on the days. There we go. Sunday. There's our new moon in Scorpio. Right. There we go. Now angle hours. There it is. Just past it. 19, 20. There we go. Okay. I thought I was on hours. I did had it wrong. Okay, so here's Sunday into Monday is the biggest thing that we're moving into. All right, so we had earlier in the day the moon opposed Jupiter. I just have to say that because Jupiter, when it moved into earlier or the day before, it made that opposition. But now we see this lining up. So Mars squared Uranus. Now we have the moon, the sun and the moon. The moon will do it right after it. It's new. But then we also have Venus getting ready to be, see how closer, we talked about this before and it'll be more direct, but it's, we have that sextile with Mercury down here. So Mercury in Sagittarius and Venus in Libra. So here's now where we can have some more vocalness about things, about fairness, about bringing that out. You can say things in a happier way, at least. So on that. But here's my concern, and I keep getting focused on this. All of these guys are just there in that opposition. Look at that. How tight is that? Now let's just go hours and we'll see. Now the moon, they're exact, and then it goes past, and then the moon hits Mars. See, look at there. Then it's like right there. So moon right on the sun, opposing Uranus, hits Mars, opposing it. Now also I had to say a couple more things about this stuff. I think we looked a few weeks ago, actually it was about a month ago, when we had that horrible attack in the Middle East. But the ascendant of Israel, this eclipse, and this is hitting the same degree, the same angle, the same degree. And then also the eclipse from last month, the fault lines from the eclipse are in the Middle East. They're going right through that area. So another thing that's hitting in there. So the full moon, the new moon itself, that the peak of it, that's what I'm trying to say, falls in that area, falls right over it goes like a line right over Jerusalem on south or on down. So this is very concerning, surprising events, volatility, challenging things. This is, the world is focused on that. And you can see now, I've given you a couple of other things. I didn't have, I didn't get the pictures of the lineup, but the peak of that moon alignment is over the Middle East and over Jerusalem. Now, the last thing that I heard was that there was a real want of Israel to make I forget what it's called, first couple times I heard this word, a new canal to rival the Suez Canal, to go from the Mediterranean to the Red Sea. And where the Suez Canal will only let, it's ruled by Egypt, and it only lets like one boat through at a time. So it's kind of like it'll let one-way traffic through. A bunch of boats will go one way, then they stop, and then all the ones going the other direction, then they'll all go through. It's a bunch of them. And then, it's kind of like when a road's being worked on, they have the signs there and they let one, southbound traffic for a little while, then northbound. So this new canal that they want to build, that Israel wants to build, will be 2 lanes, so to speak. So they won't have to do that. And it is going to go through the northern part of Gaza, the Gaza Strip. I'm not going to say any more about that. I think it just speaks for itself. And you can see all the stuff lining up. So that's pretty much it. We'll get to Tuesday, but this is kind of a rough week. We've got intense. Pluto, Scorpio's intense. It's fixed water, fixed emotion. I don't want to change. And look at these religious areas, these religious wars, all this stuff been going on for a long time. Doesn't want to change. And then now we have all the political stuff. We got the people that, the Brits who put Israel there, in the 40s, and Palestine. I don't want to get into all that, but we can see how it's all being perpetrated. Let me put that, being pushed together. And we can look at this, use astrology to kind of chart this progress. So let's send prayers for this week, really, as a group, putting some protection out. Hopefully that a lot of this is posturing, and then that people can rise up and change this, but in our own lives because it is as above, so below. This is happening in the outer world, but it's also happening in our inner world, to really watch these oppositions, this intensity, this volatility, try to, I was thinking about how the best way to navigate this. And it's like, let's find the good side of Scorpio, the holding to it, the tenacity, the want for, investigating, the love for knowledge, to be the information vacuum, having the energy to do it, having the sun and the moon in agreement with, getting to the bottom of something, using our investigative skills, and then bringing about good change. It's like the Uranian change might bring revelation, might bring a big aha to people, to world leaders, to people behind the scenes. Yeah, that's kind of where I want to hold on to it, like a big aha, and a big, oh, yeah. Okay, everybody have a safe, productive, blessed week. Bye for now.